Good morning, everyone. We're going to just get right into it this morning. As you're probably all aware, the terrible events this weekend that occur in Israel, where there was a terrorist attack. No words to say here. Our thoughts and prayers go out for to the victims, their families. I cannot imagine what they're going through, and we just pray for peace because this is a dangerous situation. What appears to have transpired is that uh, the terrorist group Hamas, which may be backed by Iran, invaded Israel in a terroristic fashion. And I don't have to reiterate all of the stories that you've been hearing, which are just heartbreaking. Well, the reason for this potentially, and as we try to understand this, is because Israel and Saudi Arabia were close, as mentioned both by MBS, as mentioned by Netanyahu, closer every day, I think is the words that they had each said, to normalized relations and peaceful relations, which really would be a great thing for the region. It would be a great thing for the United States. It would be a great thing for the oil markets, too, if we were to try and put a business spin on it. Iran does not want to be left out of that because there may be more Arab nations that join, and that would be leaving Iran behind. So it has been discussed and speculated. I spoke to so many people and read so much about this over the weekend to try to make some sense of this. As it seems that Iran, not wanting to be left behind, wanted to put a wedge between this relationship because clearly, if there's a greater degree of tension between Israel and our world, then Saudi Arabia may back off from that peace accord and normalized relations, as they put it. So we don't know 100% of the details. I don't know if we ever will. It gets scary. I spoke to some people who, kind of got me very nervous about how this could escalate. We pray that that does not happen. The United States has voiced great support and has actually put an aircraft carrier, for many of you know that is the most devastating weapon that you can have aside from nuclear weapons, but relatively close by, I think, in an effort to deter the possibility of invasion from the north from Hezbollah, which could come and cause a greater escalation on multiple fronts. Look, we just pray that this doesn't escalate. We pray that there's some sort of a resolution. We pray for the families. And I don't want you to think we're tone deaf here, but it's our job to try and break this down and talk about how it affects the market and how it affects you. And as of right now, mortgage-backed securities are performing well. They're performing well because it is normally a flight to safety. Now, there's some people that might think that, well, this could cause oil prices to rise, and that is possible. But I think there is a greater flight to safety that is occurring here. And that's why we're seeing mortgage bonds up over 40 basis points right now. The 10 years down 10, 11 basis points right now. We'll look at the charts in just a minute. So, focusing back on Friday's job report, and we left off with we were down like 60 some odd basis points, but we looked a little under the hood and we said, hey, maybe things softened during the day. That's why we were floating. And listen, they did, because people started to see some of the things that we had broken down for you. But as we break this down even further, and maybe this is part of why the bond market's also improving a little bit today, there really are quite a few holes. So what I'm going to do is I am going to try to quickly pull up a few things to show you. And Dan, I'm going to ask for your help here as well to kind of just go over a couple of things. So we talked about the headline number, but then, we try and put these updates together for you in a relatively timely fashion. So the news comes out, we try and put it together. But after the dust settles, we can really dig deep, deep, deep. And when you take a look at something as far as the raw numbers, now it was shown that 336,000 jobs were created, but on a non-seasonally adjusted basis, the actual report showed not a gain, but 885,000 job losses. Now, seasonal adjustments are typical. They smooth out the noise. But the extent of this seasonal adjustment is rather remarkable. It's 1.2 million change. So we really lost 885,000, but the market is reacting and celebrating 306. Those people did not gain the jobs. There was just an adjustment. And speaking of seasonal adjustments, it doesn't appear that they're even-handed. For example, the September government job gains of 70,000 were all teachers, but teachers coming back in September should have been seasonally adjusted. We all know this. We all know the teachers come back in August and September. So this is likely a bad seasonal adjustment. And hat tip to some of these points to our dear friend Lacey Hunt, who I spoke to and felt the same way. And a lot of people felt the same way, that the job report was really, not, and people were very, very critical of it. So a couple of other quick points. Retail was up 20,000 in the Bureau of Labor Statistics report. But when you look at Challenger's report, they said there was a sharp rise in layoffs. So a lot more layoffs. How could we be picking up all these jobs if people are being laid off? Leisure and hospitality was up big in the Bureau of Labor Statistics report, but reports showing that hotel occupancy had fallen. And Dan, I was going to roll right into this with you, and I know you've got other comments, but Dan, just make some comments here because you and I were talking about the household survey numbers.
Yeah, and the household survey painted really a completely different picture than the business survey. I think this one can be better at times of inflection in the market as well. And this one only showed 86,000 job gains. And we broke down some of these points for you on Friday, where full-time jobs, we actually saw a loss. All the job gains have been coming from part-time. And many of these people, multiple job holders. So, this doesn't show strength in the economy. This shows people, hey, maybe they have to go pick up a job doing Uber just to make ends meet. And if you look over the last 3 months, in fact, we've seen 692,000 job losses on the full-time side of things. And historically, this has pointed to some real big weakness and recessions in the economy. In fact, the last time we saw this, the last 3 times, it all led to recessions in 2001, 2008, and the COVID recession that we had. So I don't think that this is painting a strong job picture. If you look under the hood here and a little deeper than just the headlines with all of those seasonal adjustments happening, I think there is a weaker job picture here. Now, we also did hear from several Fed members over the last few days. We heard from the Fed vice chair. We heard from Lori Logan, and we also heard from Mary Daly. And all of these members acknowledging the rise in yields and how that's done a lot of tightening for the Fed and that they may not need to hike rates again. Now, on the other side of things, we did hear from Fed Governor Michelle Bowman, who said she thinks we need a few more hikes because inflation is still too high and persistent. The job market's still strong. Obviously, she's looking at the headlines and the economy is resilient. But I think the takeaway here is that there's some clear dissension amongst the Fed members. I think we're starting to see a breaking point here where some of them may start speaking out and breaking ranks per se. But I think that the markets believe the Fed's not going to hike again in November. It's about 86% chance when you look at the Fed futures. And I think it's going to be interesting to see now some of these Fed members speak up. We are going to get the Fed minutes coming out just tomorrow. Now, this is backward looking, but we might get some more insights there. Remember, it's about 3 weeks old from their last Fed meeting.
It's been a tough time in the housing market, as we all know, between low inventory and higher mortgage rates. There's a lot of adversity. How are you facing that adversity during this time period? Well, join us today at 1 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be doing a live webinar with real estate artist Frank McKinney. You will find the link to join down below. As far as news the rest of the week, it is inflation week. Tomorrow, we will get wholesale inflation as measured by Producer Price Index. And then Thursday will be CPI Consumer Price Index. And we will get you a deeper breakdown on that tomorrow. We're also going to have a few auctions. We're going to have a 10-year note auction and a 30-year bond auction.
Yep. Inflation week is always exciting. We hope to make some progress on inflation. But as you said, Megan, we're going to break that down further. Let's take a look at the market. We're up like 40 basis points. So that's a good thing. When you take a look at Friday's candle here and where we are today, this downtrend that we see here, which, obviously we can kind of put a line there and kind of just show you that this downtrend that we're suffering through right now is something that we are right at a level of significance. Hopefully, if we were to break above this level, that would end the downtrend that we've been in since September 14th. Very, very pronounced, but we're right at this level right now. So we are hoping that we can keep, we did make an attempt at it, as you can see, but we backed off. So we want to watch where we are very, very carefully. Try to close above this level. That would be a very good signal for the marketplace. A very fast look here at the 10-year Treasury. We're down 10 basis points. That's welcome news. There is more room to the downside. And once again, you could kind of see the line here is, it appears to have been broken. Let's kind of draw that together. So we'll kind of put a line in here. And as we see, we started here. And you can see where we are right now. We're just, let me try and nail this and get it right. Just about at that level where you line up all of the bottoms And we're sitting on that right now. So we are hopeful that we can get just a hair underneath this level to break this uptrend in yield, downtrend in rates. We're at a very important inflection point. So we're going to give it a chance and begin the day floating.